Financial Planner, presented by BSC, Investors Protection Fund.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Financial Planner, and today we'll talk about a very interesting subject and talk all about FMPs and whether or not that looks like a good investment opportunity in the current macroeconomic situation. To talk about that, Renu Potin of fundsupermart.com joins in. Thanks, Renu, for joining us this evening. Renu, just to get started, a lot of talk about FMPs. When you look at the macros of the country, it seems like interest rates have peaked out. From here on, it's going to be a one-way slide towards lower interest rate regime. Maybe not now, but at least in the next couple of months. What is the fuss about FMPs? What are FMPs for the sake of our viewers?
Okay. FMPs are fixed maturity plans. They close-ended debt funds which invest into CPs and CDs. Okay, and the instruments or the instruments that are in that portfolio is as per the maturity of that fund. So they'll take in instruments. If it's like a one-year FMP, they'll have CPs and CDs of 1 year. That matures in that 1 year. So there's interest rate risk is actually negligible in this kind of a fund. So when interest rates are high, this is like the hype in the mutual fund industry. I mean, everyone wants to lock in money at a higher rate, and because they follow a buy and hold strategy, a lot of investors show an interest in these funds, and you can see the amount of FMPs that has actually come out since September 2010 to last year. I mean, of course, this year it's come down a lot, but last year and all, there were quite a huge number that was coming out, and that's because of that, because interest rates are at a peak, so you want to block in your money at a higher rate.
So FMPs would be part of your investment for your short to medium term goals?
Exactly, it will be short to medium term. Maximum, if you want to lock in your money for like minimum is 3 months, then you can lock in for 1 year to 3 years, that's all.
Renu, why and what makes FMPs so attractive right now?
Right now, I mean, like my views on interest rates currently are this, that it's already peaked, and like I said, I mean, Reserve Bank is actually waiting for some action from the government, but definitely, I mean, we are expecting rates to go down, as you said rightly. I mean, but it will take some time for that to happen. So till that time, there are, of course, open-ended funds also that are looking very good, but FMPs currently we still suggest to investors. Of course, the rates have come down, okay, on the debt instruments, but those investors who still doesn't want to take that kind of volatility, okay, and want to lock in money at whatever rates is available, which is still high, I mean, because rates have still not gone down. So those kind of investors can look at FMPs. I'm looking at conservative kind of investors.
Right. Renu, also help me understand this. What is the sort of post-tax returns one can expect?
As far as FMPs are concerned, that's one debt instrument which I think even the regulator has given has come out with a rule saying that indicative yields and even the portfolio of that fund is normally not known to investor.
So how does one go about investing?
My way is like if maybe say for example a fund house comes out with an FMP, because you don't know where they're going to invest, what kind of papers they're going to take. We don't even know what kind of yield they're going to give. So in that case, I think you need to go back and check the pedigree of the fund house first. Okay, and check the previous FMPs that they've already released. I mean, whichever has been launched, you get the portfolio. So you can look at what kind of papers they normally invest in. Do they take any risk, and what is the credit quality? Do they normally take any credit quality risk in that portfolio? See the fund manager expertise, and then take a call on the FMPs.
Right, I believe FMPs are closely compared to fixed deposits. What is the reason for that, and how do they compare versus fixed deposits?
I think that's from the tax point of view, because if you actually look at for people in the highest tax bracket, if you take an FD, you're actually taxed as per your income slab. So that's like 30%. But in the case of FMP, if you're taking an investment like for more than 1 year, you can take a growth option. So where you're taxed by 10% without indexation, 20% with indexation. So that's the biggest benefit. So it's 30% on FD and 10% on the side. So that makes a lot of difference.
A lot of us now are aware that fixed deposits also have some sort of risk. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Even though we'd like to believe fixed deposits are the safest investment option, but again, it's never 100% safe. How risky are FMPs, given that they do invest in corporate debt as well? How does this play out? Because at the end of the day, it's still exposure to a company, and it's to a company that can't really raise money otherwise. It's looking at, raising money through debt.
That's what I said. When a fund house launches an FMP, it's very difficult to know where the fund house is actually going to invest. That's not known to anyone. Only once he comes out with the portfolio, that's once your money is actually locked in, you come to know that he is going to invest in these kind of papers. But that's why I'm saying you need to check the pedigree of that fund house. I mean, if there are fund houses which are very good at taking credit risk, I mean, if you look at the debt funds, they're very good at taking credit risk.
Right.
So, I mean, you'll, from the past FMP or the previous FMPs that have been launched, you'll definitely know whether, whether they are into that game. And there are fund houses who play safe, I mean, in the fixed income side.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the only way you can go by that.
I know FMP scores over fixed deposits because it's probably more tax efficient.
Yeah.
How liquid are FMPs? Because fixed deposits are actually quite liquid.
FMPs, the regulators come out with a rule that, it has to be listed on the stock exchange. But I think the volumes are really thin as far as FMPs are concerned. So it's not that liquid. So only if investors have money that they don't want for, like if you're putting in a 1-year FMP and you don't want that money for the next 1 year, then I think you should go for that instrument. Because if you want to go, I mean, if you want to get out midway, then I think investors might find it difficult to do so.
Right. Renu, also, do most of the large fund houses have FMPs? I mean, the old pedigree, so would an HDFC, a Kotak, the old hands?
Yeah, definitely. Most of them, as an HDFC, Reliance, ICICI, Kotak, they all come out with regular FMPs.
What about indexation? Because I believe that's the key benefit for small investors looking at FMPs, is it?
Yeah, that is 10% without indexation and 20% with indexation.
Would you also recommend FMPs to investors who fall in the highest tax bracket? Because
I recommend FMPs to people who fall in the highest tax bracket, because I think that's where they get the benefit.
Right.
Because as I told you before, that 30% he's going to be taxed if he's on the if you take an FD. So here it's 10%.
Right. Also recently, in fact, I came across an article which said that a number of fund houses have actually gone ahead and withdrawn their FMPs on back of SEBI cracking the whip at some point, where they've said 20 crores is the minimum target amount and you can't have any more than 20 investors. What is all this about? Why is this happening? I mean, is there a reason behind this? Is this why a lot of the savvy investors are cold shouldering FMPs right now?
I think the exact reason for them withdrawing, I mean, getting back on their FMPs, I'm really not I really can't comment on that. But I think currently, see the hype that was created for FMPs, I mean in the last 2 years, that's definitely not there in the market right now. That's what I'm saying. I would today favor an open-ended fund rather than an FMP. Until and unless you're a conservative investor, you don't want to take risk, you're okay with blocking your money at whatever rate is available, you can go for an FMP. So the kind of, I think, surplus that they collected in the last 2 years, and it's like 200, 300 kind of FMPs used to come out in a year. So that's not something you'll be able to, you can't get that kind of FMPs launched, and you'll not get that kind of investor surplus also this year, because interest rates are definitely in an uncertain.
So if somebody who does want to lock in into an FMP because they do want to do it, right now would be the best time, given that rates.
Yeah, I think before rates fall, I think it's best to invest.
Right. Also, I mean, we've talked about the indexation benefits, but is that set to change when the DTC comes into play, and that could be one reason why it's losing popularity?
That is also one reason that it is losing popularity.
Right. If I can just ask you, how much part of someone's debt portfolio should be invested in FMPs, and should it be FMP or fixed deposits, or is it an either-or kind of situation?
That's what I said. I mean, it depends on the investor.
Completely
investor driven it is, because FD is like you have a guaranteed return. You know how much you're going to get, and I mean, there's certain type of guarantee.
And it's liquid.
Yeah, it's liquid. So FMP, I'm not saying there's no defaults or there's nothing.
So what percentage of your debt portfolio would you recommend somebody who falls in the higher tax bracket to invest in?
I would recommend 10%.
10% is what you'd be looking at. Right. Well, that's of course advice coming in FMPs, and why they're actually losing popularity. A number of savvy investors are pretty much giving FMPs a cold shoulder, but if you do want to invest in it, then it's probably the best time to lock in those rates, given that even though interest rates might not ease for now, they are definitely going to do that sooner or later. Status quo, no rate hikes expected for sure. We'll take a break on that, but we'll come back and take up all your financial planning queries, so stay tuned.
The Financial Planner, presented by BSC, Investors Protection Fund.
Welcome back. You're watching Financial Planner. It's now time to take up all your financial planning related queries.
Investment Ladder, presented by BSC, Investors Protection Fund.
Renu, we've got a query coming in from Sushil Meghraj. He's quite young. He's 24 years old and his net salary comes in about 18,000 rupees per month. He's already got a personal loan of 1 lakh rupees for which he pays 4,000 rupees per month as premium. His expenses as follows: 3,500 to 4,500. He's expecting about 25 to 30% a hike in salary in the next 7 to 8 months. He does not have any investments, nor does he have any great savings. He wants to start investing about 7,000 rupees per month in the next couple of months. He wants to pursue higher studies in 3 years and he's not getting married for the next 10 years. He's very confident about that with a smiley face. And he's asking for advice on the following things. He wants to pursue higher studies in the next 3 years. Like to plan his investments to keep that goal in mind. He's also looking at his current profile, which is kind of what kind of life insurance policy should he be looking at, and he wants to buy a house and a car by the time he's 30, 31, so about 7 years from now. What is your advice?
Okay. I think as far as the insurance part is concerned, he needs to take a term insurance. I think that's the best way. I mean, that can provide you life cover at the nominal cost. And as far as his investment of 7,000 is concerned, if you actually put in for 7,000, next 3 years, his goal is like for next 3 years at the rate of 10%, he should be able to get around 3 lakhs. That's what he's asking for next 3 years. Okay, and what are the funds? Because it's only a 3 years kind of horizon he's given me. I'm suggesting a 40% into a large cap fund. 30% he can go into a balance fund like an HDFC balance. It's a little bit conservative side. And since he is young, I think that maybe he can take some kind of a risk. So there he can go into maybe a mid-cap fund like an IDFC Sterling fund. So that's like 30% there. And I think as per when his income increases, maybe he needs to diversify into other categories and increase his time horizons as well.
Right, even though he tells us that he doesn't want to get married for the next 10 years, but I'm guessing that would be another long-term goal 10 years later. Would that sort of suffice in terms of what we've advised him, that 7,000 rupees per month in order to sort of plan his finances? 7,000
per month for the next 10 years should yield him kind of 14 lakhs.
Is he too young to start planning for his retirement? I mean, he's only 24. But I mean, most experts say that the earlier you start, the better it is. I'm sure nobody worries about it. You'd rather worry about your next holiday when you're 24. But if you can just tell us.
I think I'm also with the same view. I mean, retirement is something she can start, early.
But nobody ever does.
Yeah, that no one ever does. I mean, once everything's over, then you think about retirement. So
I'm not sure if you mentioned the insurance part of it, but what should he be looking to do?
I have told that he can go and take a term insurance. That's the best policy.
To do right now.
Term plan, which will provide him life cover at the nominal cost.
Right, so that's pretty much the advice coming in for you, Sushil. It's great that you're starting so early. 24 is a good age to start planning, and hopefully if you take Renu's advice, you hopefully should get your funding done for your education and get that car and house you're looking at buying in the next 5 to 7 years. Well, just moving on to Sushil, we've got another query coming from Avnish Baga. He's 29, he works in Nigeria, his monthly income is 7 lakh rupees per month, and he took a property loan from SBI which he's about to pay off by next month. He says he saw our show for the first time and was quite impressed. I don't even know why he's telling us that, but as he's mentioned, he would want to complete his loan by the month of September. So from October 2010, I have a monthly savings of 6.5 lakh rupees per month that he's looking forward to keep investing. His monthly savings from October 10 to March 11, total of around 40 lakhs for a year and a half. Please suggest the best way to invest this money in India so he can get better returns on this cash. His second query is his wife has idle cash of 25 lakh rupees which she can lock in for the next 5 years and would need a monthly income from the savings. Can she get better interest rates if she doesn't expect any monthly incomes and wait till the maturity period? What should they be looking to do? I mean, they're talking about quite a large sum of money, right? I mean, 6.5 lakh rupees per month. Should he wrap up that loan? If yes, what are the investment options? And of course, what happens to this 5 lakh rupees that his wife wants to invest?
25 lakhs.
25 lakhs, pardon me, here.
Okay, as far as 40 lakhs that he's talking about that he wants to invest for the next 1.5 years, I have only a short-term fund to give him right now because his time horizon is quite short. I mean, it's very
Short,
small.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like 1.5 years. So as I said, some of our top picks today are, one is AIG's short-term fund, which is doing quite well.
Yeah.
Very conservative fund, so there's no credit risk that the fund manager takes in that fund. It's been doing well. It has been one of the top performers last year, and it's continuing its good innings this year as well. Templeton short-term fund is there as well, but he takes a little bit of credit risk in that kind of fund. So these are the two funds he can go depending upon his risk appetite. As for the 25 lakhs that his wife is, I think that if she doesn't want the monthly income, then the safer option in the mutual fund space is currently FMPs only for her. Maybe she can lock that entire money in a 2 to 3 year FMP for next 3 years, because I don't think we can give a safe option for like 5 years.
So you wouldn't even recommend even a small portion going into equities?
Specifically, it has been asked they don't want to take any risk.
But I mean, there's always risk involved, right?
Yeah, there is,
But ideally, because since they're so risk averse,
yeah, it's better if they can
rather
lock
safe
in.
than sorry. Yeah. Well, Avnish, that's the advice coming in for you. Your wife needs to invest in FMPs. You seem quite risk averse, and so does your wife. So I guess FMPs is the best option. And apart from that, Rena's obviously recommended a couple of those funds that you could invest that 6.5 lakh rupees that you're considering to invest. That could go into a debt fund. We'll take a break on that note. We'll come back and then, of course, take up some more of your financial planning queries. So stay tuned.
The Financial Planner, presented by BSC, Investors Protection Fund.
Welcome back. You're watching Financial Planner. We've got a query from Aman who says he wants to invest 1,000 rupees for the next 20 years. Will NPS be better than mutual funds?
Yeah. As far as for 1,000 rupees for next 20 years, see, NPS is a pure retirement kind of a product.
Right.
So, and they have 3 categories of asset classes which you can enter into. But I think one drawback of that product is that it's the amount of portion of the investment that's going into equities is actually capped at 50%.
Okay.
So I think I believe that maybe an open-ended mutual fund, equity fund, would make much more difference to this. Of course, expense-wise and all, it's much better. There are so many advantages and disadvantages for NPS, but I think if it's like
if you can just tell us what the advantages and disadvantages are, because not too often do we talk about NPS really, and just for the sake of our viewers, it would be great.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, one disadvantage that I find is that 50% is capped at equity, and in equity they're looking at only index funds. Okay. So I think definitely an actively managed portfolio would definitely score over index funds over a long time period. So that's one thing. And another thing is the liquidity. I mean, you can withdraw it at the age of 60. And
in an NPS.
And there also you can withdraw 60% and 40% you have to take an annuity. But in mutual fund, there's no problem there. Because you can actually withdraw whenever you want. You just need to look at the exit load and all that. And as far as tax is concerned, of course, NPS is coming into, it's getting a lot of hype because you get that income tax deduction. But when you take out the money, the interest is taxable. So that's again not there in mutual funds.
So any reason why anyone should even look at an NPS?
I think it's a retirement kind of a product.
But so is an equity mutual fund. I mean, if you're a long-term investor, that becomes a retirement kind of product, right?
Yeah, but when you take a retirement product, you have the number of years. So you stay invested. If you're taking a retirement product, then you stay invested for that much number of years. But if you, it's like investor's psych. You put in an open-ended equity fund, you don't see it performing.
So
then
this probably compares better with a post office or a government security.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I had to ask you, an NPS or a post office, it's almost the same thing, right?
Yeah, but both has its own advantages and disadvantages.
But this is better off compared to government securities as opposed to comparing to equity mutual funds. Right, moving on from there to our next query, we've got a gentleman who writes and he says he's 33 years old, he's got one daughter who's a year old. He earns about 1.5 lakh rupees per month. He's got a home loan where he pays 40,000 rupees of EMI and he saves about 40,000 rupees per month, which is fantastic. He's got an SIP of rupees 10,000 in an HDFC equity fund. He contributes about rupees 10,000 to his PF every month as well. What is the sort of investment should he be looking at for his retirement and his daughter's future?
Okay. I think he has already said that 40,000 per month he wants to invest. The current investment is around 20,000 per month. So that makes it to, if I include 40,000, total 60,000 he'll have. So he can start investing in equity mutual funds. That's what I'm suggesting. 40%, he's quite young, 33 years old, and he's looking at daughter's education. So that's like quite some time. So I think 40% can go into any of our large caps like ICICI Focused or DSP Top 100. 30% can go into a mid-cap or a multi-cap kind of funds like an IDFC Sterling Fund or a UTI Opportunities Fund. 20% I'm suggesting a sector fund again. He can look at the AIG's infrastructure fund or he can go for Reliance Banking Fund. And 10% he can put in a balance fund like an HDFC Prudence Fund.
Investment Ladder, presented by BSE, Investors Protection Fund.
That's the advice coming in for you, and that's also the time we have on this edition of Financial Planner. Thanks for watching. Keep it with the channel, a lot more programming lined up.
Presented by BSE Investors Protection Fund.